about things like bravery, individuality, friendship.
So there's nonfiction though, like,
Yeah.
like
So there's nonfiction,
about like there's nonfiction books about like friendship and like magazines like that.
but it's true too.
And sometimes fiction can get a little bit, well, out of hand in reality. So sometimes when you're trying to be like that person, it doesn't really quote the reality very well.
But some fiction books, they can also be reality.
Yeah.
Like it could be
But not all.
it could be realistic fiction, like kind of tell like what could have happened, or if someone made a certain choice, what would happen, but they didn't make that choice.
How come fiction can teach a lesson when it's make-believe?
It's not always make believe though. Like it's make believe, but like it's still like about people, and they're still like with their families and stuff. So they teach you like lessons about family and like friendship and stuff.
But it's not true.
Yeah, but some can't actually relate.
Growing up, kids need like a role model, and you can make the perfect character and role model by using fiction. So that is
If you use nonfiction though, you'll be able to relate to it better because they're actually real people.
That's what I'm agreeing on.
But also, nonfiction, it just gives you the flat out facts and doesn't make you think about what you're reading,
It can.
but it doesn't always.
It can make you think too hard too. Like it can make you
So
like
that helps you.
Cause it like
not
It
really.
challenges you.
and it's
and
like valuable
sometimes-
to our education because it teaches us like if we're studying like something in science or something, then we can just go to the library, get a book, and then
Yeah, you want fiction for science? Does that help? Does fiction help you get better education in science?
But how is fiction more engaging? Or how is nonfiction more engaging than fiction?
Because it's true and
it
it's
doesn't
actually.
mean it's always going to be like more engaging, but it's like
Yeah, it
more
doesn't,
valuable to.
doesn't mean it's a picture book about snakes. It can be a story
Also,
about
Preach it,
slavery or something. Somebody who went through slavery, who fought against odds.
It's legit.
There can be fiction about slavery though too, and it can be like what happened to people.
That's mostly
that's
nonfiction.
I think that the author of the nonfiction, it depends on how engaging it is. So the matter of opinion between fiction, most people actually think that fiction is more engaging because it has exciting actions and like dramatic endings, but nonfiction has truth, but the author decides how it's written, because the nonfiction may be written in a more engaging way, but it's generally not, causing students and other people to think that fiction is more engaging.
But fiction could be whatever you want it to be. It could be sci-fi, it could be real life, it could be realistic, it could be anything. It can tell facts, it could not tell facts, it could be anything.
But nonfiction also has many different types. Like there's how-tos and information on other subjects like wildlife and all that.
there's like poems. Poems are nonfiction.
Well, some poems are, but not all.
Sometimes you need to like change the story to get what the readers want, like such as like Divergent.
So how does that help? How does that help your education?
It's teaching you about like how to be a good person, like how to be a good student, because they can be a student in that fiction book. That is being a good student to their teachers.
That's the same thing that can happen in a nonfiction.
Well, when you think about it, a lot of nonfiction, like if you're talking about like history and that kind of stuff, a lot of it happened in the past, and a lot of fiction books are not. You can relate to the protagonists because they can be the same age, or they can be in school, and maybe like there's something to do with bullying, and the protagonist has to come over obstacles. Then a lot of like the reader could try to could relate, and also maybe try to be like the protagonist. So if there ever was an event in school where bullying happened, they could try to stand up for that person.
And like some of it even talks about the future, like if what kind of a person who makes these kind of choices will come up to be this kind of person.
I also think to
not-
say, when the Back to the Future movies, they said that it was fiction, and they said that it was gonna be in 2015, everything was gonna be like this. Well, it didn't happen.
Yeah, sometimes it's in like fiction you teach us like things that like aren't so good, like in the book that like you wouldn't want to do, and then it's like when we did the debate on The Outsiders, like it's
Like what Carson was saying, like if you want, like to know, you want to make like the reader think more. And so if you're doing things like Back to the Future, you want like them to think and not be so on the facts about it, because the facts are boring. And if you change the story up a little bit, it makes it more exciting and the readers want.
Historical fiction is also another one because it's a mix of nonfiction with fiction, because the history in it is the nonfiction and truth, while the fiction is the made up things. Like mythology has some grain of truth in it. It's based off of something. Like maybe there was a person, maybe the person that was in there did not do all of those amazing feats, but they did something similar. So all fiction is generally based, it's actually always based off of real life and nonfiction.
I don't know if y'all are looking at the title because it says which is more valuable to learning, and fiction doesn't really help you learn.
Yeah, like
It may help you in life, but it doesn't help you learn.
Especially because school is supposed to teach us how to be in the adult world. In most jobs and most things in adult life, you're going to be reading nonfiction.
like in elementary school, like if you wanted to read like nonfiction, like it teaches us more about like if you want to do like a report on like an animal or something, and then you learn from it.
And like Wikipedia, is fiction, and a lot of people go there and they always get messed up on what's right for education.
It gives you creativity, like something to, like you can get ideas from it, and then you can use them in like papers in like the future, so it will make your paper better.
I believe that both are valuable to learning, and they're equal depending on which side you think is more valuable. But they are equal, but then again, everything is generally opinions. So how can you truly tell that fiction is more valuable without opinions?
Everything. You can't tell anything without opinions.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, well,
But that's
not-
against us too.
Ken, Carter, talk.
So, this is a question for both sides. So, which is morally, overall, more important to education? Either fiction, and because it tells us creative stories of how to spend our lives in a good way and help to raise society to a better level, or nonfiction, how it teaches us about history and to learn from the mistakes of others and try not to, well, develop the society back into that age, which at a certain age isn't necessarily that entirely good.
Okay. Maddie.
Well, if all we learned was nonfiction, don't you think that would be a little bit boring? Like, no fiction at all. Like, we wouldn't be able to imagine or think outside the box. We wouldn't be creative, and we would just be boring. It wouldn't be fun.
But the same thing if you just had like fiction, you wouldn't learn anything like like help you in life. You have to have like a mix of both kind of, but like it's just like your opinion of which one you would use more.
How does fun have anything to do with school? You're supposed to learn in school.
Why
Yeah,
are you supposed to have fun
learning
too?
can be fun.
That's so sad.
John?
Because development.
No.
Hold on, John.
Well, nonfiction, like stuff in nonfiction, like the history of like America and everything that went on, like the abolishment of slavery, this can all help you to be educated, and the more educated you are, the better chance you have at a job or, at life, college, you have a better chance at it. But to learn, I think nonfiction.
School is a road to success.
Yes.
Annalise.
But you can be like, you can read about like people being social in fiction, and you can learn about adulthood when you're gonna have a job. Don't laugh at me. And be learning about like social stuff for like I said, like when you work and stuff. You can't really read a book about nonfiction. It's gonna tell you how to be social.
Yeah, but you can fiction can also say it's like a little kindergartner and he reads a fiction book about our history, which is very different from what it really is. He grows up thinking that it's like that if he never had attended school. That affects some kids' lives by not being too much educated and
But like the first book any kindergartner ever reads is a fiction book, so that you can learn how to read and get what reading is and how different words can flow together.
Exactly,
what
but then when we
options
get to like middle school, it's still more enjoyable to read fiction, but it doesn't like in our lives now we have to be more mature to read nonfiction to learn more than to have it be enjoyable.
Also, how you said you could wait to learn about the jobs in adulthood before you get a job. That'll leave you ill prepared and more panicky, and probably you won't get as good as jobs.
When you guys said it can help you learn, and it tells you facts and gets you up to the highest level you can be, but shouldn't it be fun and it still be on task?
It can
While
still
you're
be
having
fun.
fun.
Like nonfiction, some people think it is more enjoyable than fiction.
We're not talking about, like I said before, we're not talking about a picture book about snakes. That's just all fact. It could be a true story about like the Civil War, someone who lived through the Civil War.
It could be like a cooking book.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Also, nonfiction isn't all boring stuff. It
Yeah.
can be fun.
And like
the Civil War.
poems.
Like picture, like if you like, I said like I'm one of those little girls that always Texas, but it's like someone who, say like someone who returns from Vietnam War. Uncle Si made it like he said the fiction, he said the nonfiction, but he also said like he said that, but he also had funny parts in it and it was actually real life.
Now, history is nonfiction, but fiction also has the grain of truth in it. But history in general repeats itself. So you can learn both from nonfiction and fiction because there's a grain of truth in fiction. And so I stand firm that both are of equal value.
But if nonfiction displays actual truth and fiction doesn't exactly displays a lot of truth, it just shows you fictional ways of looking at the truth, and nonfiction gives you the plain hard facts, then how exactly do fiction help with learning more than nonfiction is fiction?
I have to join the nonfiction side.
And then like if you have,
Hold on, you guys.
The truth.
Isaac, that's not how we join. Thank you.
if you like couldn't go to school, like you're in a third world country and like girls couldn't go to school, but you had like a whole library, would you pick a nonfiction book to learn from, like learn different topics, or would you pick a fiction book?
In fiction, there are some stories where I have read a few myself where they can't, and the first thing they do try to learn is nonfiction. They actually do because they feel the need to learn something before they can have, extra things. Like when we were back at the Stone Age, we first had to do survival, and then we slowly worked our way through to luxury.
That's nonfiction. Those are true stories that happened in the past that we know of.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know about that, what would you learn in your life?
Yeah, exactly.
With fiction.
Okay, Maddie.
Okay, so would you rather have more kids read or less kids read? And more kids read because of stories that grab their attention, and some stories need to be played around with a little bit to become more interesting for people to want to read. And when the more you read, the more you're better with your writing.
As I said before, nonfiction can be written in a really nice way. Like an author can take nonfiction and then, let's say a fiction author decided, hey, I'm going to write a nonfiction book. He does. He puts his or her signature into there that other people might like, and then they'll go and read the book, which means that they're reading nonfiction. And nonfiction could be entertaining for them, all depending on how it's written.
By the author.
Okay, I'm going to pose a question to every single one of you, and I'll just get a couple of you to answer. Think back to when you were a kid. I know it's a long time ago, but think back to when you were in elementary school, primary school, like kindergarten, first, second grade. What kind of books did you check